Hello everyone. In this video, we will be talking about MICAT 1. It was conducted today on the 3rd of December. Okay, just like last year, MICAT 1 this year had 3 sections, section A, B and C. Let us have an overview of this test. Okay, there were 3 sections as I said. Section A was the psychometric test. It had 150 questions. You had to do those in 30 minutes. Okay, you are expected to attempt all questions in this section. Okay, now the next section was the descriptive writing section. Okay, it had 4 questions, section B. In this section as well, one is expected to attempt all 4 questions. All right. The third section was the aptitude test. It had 4 subsections, and overall you get 80 minutes to attempt the aptitude test section. Okay. In this, 3 of the 4 subsections in aptitude test had 20 questions each. All right, and the 4th section, that is GK, had 10 questions. So totally there were 70 questions. All right, the number of good attempts that one is supposed to do for the divergent convergent reasoning, that is the first subsection, would be 9 to 10 questions. Okay, good attempts for VARC, verbal ability, are 9 to 10 questions again, and the same is for QADI sections, quant section. All right. Now in GK, one is expected to attempt 4 to 5 questions if one is to clear the cutoffs. Okay. Moving ahead, there was a 1-minute break between 2 continuous sections. All right. Now section A had no negative marking. Psychometric test had no negative marking. This section is used as a qualifying section. All right. Now, no marks are revealed, no marking pattern is also revealed, cutoffs are also not revealed for this section, but it is used as a qualifier. All right. If you qualify this, then you go ahead to the next section. Section B, that is descriptive writing, also had no negative marking. Section C, that is aptitude test, had 1 mark positive for correct answer and 0.25 negative for incorrect answers. All right. There was no deduction of any marks for unattempted questions. Okay, incorrect questions had negative marking, but unattempted questions, no negative marking. All right. Plus, many questions in the aptitude test had 8 options, but there was no adjustment of negative marking for the questions with more than 4 options. All right, that is 5 options or 6 options or 8 options. There was no adjustment of negative marking. In short, each incorrect answer in aptitude test, 0.25 marks will be deducted. All right. Overall, this year's MICAT was more difficult as compared to last year's MICATs, both MICATs, MICAT 1 and MICAT 2 last year. This was majorly because of the increased number of questions with 8 options in the aptitude test, that is more than 55 questions had 8 options. All right. Now, how does this work? How does the evaluation work? If a student has cleared the psychometric test, their CAT or ZAT or GMAT score will be evaluated. If they clear the CAT cutoff, then their section B, that is descriptive test, will be evaluated. If they clear the descriptive writing cutoff, okay, then their aptitude test will be evaluated. All right. Again, as I said earlier, psychometric test, section A, and section B descriptive test, the marks are not revealed. The cutoffs are also not revealed. In the third section, that is section C, it is predicted that around an overall score of net 25 to 26 in section C can fetch you a call for GD and PI. Okay. Now, let's move ahead. In the psychometric test, let's talk a bit detailed about the psychometric test. In psychometric test, there were around 150 questions, as I said. Now, in that, there was a slight breakup. Around 30 to 32 questions had a situation where you had to answer with either true or false. Means there were only 2 options. Okay, and the remaining questions out of 150, the remaining questions assessed one's personality traits. Each of those remaining questions had 8 options. Okay, the options varied from totally disagree at one end to totally agree at the other end. One is expected to answer all these questions reflexively in 30 minutes. Okay, I'll give you a couple of examples of these psychometric questions. One of them is, when I think of an issue, I tend to think of it from all perspectives. 8 options were given for this, totally agree or totally disagree. Another example was, I can usually understand the meaning behind artists' ideas, paintings, musical compositions, etc. Again, this also had 8 options. You had to either agree, you disagree, totally disagree, 8 options like that. Okay, another example of this is of the true and false variety. Before voting, I check the qualification of all candidates, true or false. Okay, so these are the kind of questions that you can expect in psychometric test. Okay, now let's talk about the next section in brief, that is the descriptive writing section. The topic for the first 3 questions in descriptive writing is common usually. The topic was confusion, contracts, chaos. All right. Now, you in the first question, you have to write 3 arguments in favor of the topic or supporting the topic. The second question, you have to write 3 arguments opposing the topic. And in the third question, the question was around this only, but it was framed in this manner. How can a young manager use this concept, that is confusion, contracts, chaos, this concept to motivate his team members? All right. The first 2 questions were of 10 marks each, and the third question was of 20 marks. Okay. Now, the fourth question, all right, that is the picture story, in which 4 pictures were given, 4 images were given, and you have to concoct a story out of these. Okay. So, the 4 images that were given roughly were, the first image was of a printed tile, the second was a soft toy, okay, a yellow colored soft toy. The third image was of a credit card, and the fourth image was of a mouse pointer, that arrow type thing. Okay. Now, one had to write a story including all these elements and mention the order in which these appear in the story. The overall time for all these 4 questions together was 25 minutes. Okay. Now, in the third section, that is section C, aptitude test, it had 70 questions, okay, in all. Now, from that is collectively from all 4 subsections. Out of these 70, 55 plus questions had 8 options each, which increased the difficulty level of these questions and the overall section. So, each correct option fetched 1 mark, and for each incorrect answer you had 0.25 marks deducted. Apart from 8 option questions, there were a couple of questions with 5 options, there were around 7-8 questions with 4 options, and there was one question that I remember was with 6 options. Okay, so MICAT really brought in the change in number of options this year. Okay. Now, let us have a breakdown of each subsection. Okay. So, let's talk first about the divergent convergent reasoning section. It had 20 questions, out of which 5 questions were word association questions. All right, 2 questions were of statement assumption type. Okay, and the remaining 13 questions were of they were a mix of visual reasoning, coding, decoding, and other reasoning type questions. All right, so an attempt of around 8 to 10 questions with very high accuracy is needed, around 90% accuracy is needed to be able to get a respectable score that can contribute towards clearing the cutoff in this section. About the second section, that is VARC section, verbal ability section, it had a whole range of questions. Okay, it had a reading comprehension, which the topic was, how does Earth's revolution or rotation impacts time on Earth? Okay, so it was a medium level question in reading, and it had 4 questions, all were of medium difficulty. Okay, now the other questions were of jumbled paragraphs. Okay, you have 5 statements, you have to arrange them in order. Odd sentence had 2 questions, jumbled paragraph 3 questions, 1 question was jumbled sentence. One sentence was broken up into 4 or 5 parts, you had to arrange them in the correct order. Okay, and then you also had critical reasoning, 1 question of inference type. You also had clause test, vocabulary question, 4 clause test question. In each question, 1 paragraph was given. In each paragraph, there were 4 blanks. So, in 1 clause test question, for 1 mark, you had to fill in 4 blanks. All right. 2 of these clause test questions had idioms and phrases. The remaining 2 were direct vocabulary questions. All right. Plus, the question of paragraph completion, which was asked in CAT this year, similar type of question was also asked in MICAT. 2 questions of those types were asked in MICAT 1. Okay. Overall, this section was also of medium difficulty because most of the questions here had 8 options. Okay, couple of questions had 5 options and 4 options also, but most had 8 options. All right. A good attempt in this would mean attempting around 8 to 10 questions again with 90% accuracy. Okay. Now let's talk about the quant aptitude and data interpretation section. All right. So here 4 questions. There was one data interpretation set which had 4 questions. Okay. All those 4 questions had 4 options each, but the remaining 16 questions were quant questions divided almost equally over the areas of arithmetic, geometry, and modern math. All right. Most of these questions, 16 questions, had 8 options. All right, which made the quant section pretty difficult. All right. Topics which were asked were time, speed, distance, ratio, proportion, percentage, time and work. From geometry, trigonometry, coordinate geometry, mensuration were asked, and in modern math, probability and permutation combination. Okay. Now, the general awareness section had 10 questions. In that, around 60% of the questions, that is 6 questions, were on national issues and 4 questions were on international issues. Okay, but most of the questions you cannot divide exactly into national and international, because most of the questions contained trivia which were mixed, which were both national as well as international. All right. So there were 2 major formats of questions which were asked. One was match the following, in which 4 data are given in one column and 4 different data are given in another column, and you have to match. For example, people's names, 4 people's names are given, and banks names or organization names are given. You have to match which one is the chairman or CEO of which organization. That kind of question was very prevalent in GK. The second type of format in GK was that you are given 4 pieces of trivia. Okay, 4 pieces of general knowledge are given. You have to identify which one or which ones are incorrect. All right, all GK questions had 8 options, which made them pretty tough. A score of around 4 to 5 is needed. All right, so in GK, you have to score around 5 to 6 questions with around 70 to 80% accuracy. You have to attempt around 5 questions with around 80% accuracy. Then you will be able to score something which is needed to clear the cutoffs. All right, that's all from this side. I hope this helps you if you are going to attempt for MICAT again. Okay, because in January end, MICAT 2 will be conducted. Okay, hope this helps you. Thank you and all the best for your further exams.